Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special edition of Talking Wrestling TXN. It is Grown MF Michael Fletcher alongside the guys Anthony Flair and Michael Bullock as we are about to embark on a wild journey, y'all. Tonight, this will be our 2024 year in review in the world of professional wrestling. We're going to be covering NXT. We're going to be covering WWE. We'll be covering Anthony Flair. We'll give his TNN um, year in review. And as far as that goes, that's how we're gonna do it. So we're just gonna dive right on in. Obviously, the calendar year was very interesting because of the fact of a lot of the hot events that happened in 2023. It it carried over a lot. A lot of it was carried over to 2024, and the one factor going into WWE was how are they going to top themselves? Because in November of 2023, literally hell had frozen over. CM Punk, who vowed that he would never go back to WWE, went back to WWE after a major fallout with AEW that stemmed from a lot of drama and a lot of problems that AEW had dealt with during that year. And without a doubt, the biggest shocker of everything in 23 was that not only did CM Punk re-sign with WWE, but then came back at the Survivor Series in his hometown in Chicago that literally broke the internet. So we had that fallout. And then, of course, during that time, a major injury had also occurred late in 2023. And that was Charlotte Flair, who was at the top of her game in WWE, suffered a major knee injury that tore her ACL, the MCL, the PCL, and the meniscus. And we knew she was going to be out for 2024. And as a matter of fact, as of this day of recording, she has not even come back yet from that injury. The prognosis is she is imminent to return, but we have not seen her this calendar year. We have been without the queen. The throne has been queenless, as you can say. However, in 2025, the queen will try to ascend to the throne. One other big note of news, we'll get into that. That will have major implications heading into 25. No doubt about it will be one of the most unique and tearful type of years in 25 when we get to that particular individual later tonight. But we start out with the WWE and start out with the 2024 Royal Rumble event that always kicks off the road to WrestleMania. And this year's Royal Rumble was no other, as this year's Royal Rumble emulated this year. Hold on. From Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg, Florida. And when it was all said and done, Bayley winning the Women's Royal Rumble that actually propelled her on her way to WrestleMania, coming from the number 3 spot and going all the way. Then, of course, Roman Reigns, who was in the midst of the greatest run in the world had ever seen, successfully defending the undisputed WWE Universal Championship against 3 contenders, AJ Styles, LA Knight, and Randy Orton, 3 men who were basically trying to get to the title and to try to stop Roman Reigns and the Roman Empire. Unfortunately, did not happen. Another person who got into a big situation was Logan Paul, who was at the time the United States heavyweight champion, defeating Kevin Owens. Owens will have an integral part later on in the year when we get into his year in review. And then once it comes to the men's Royal Rumble, it was Cody Rhodes winning the Rumble for the second straight year, upending CM Punk at the very end. However, that match tend to be a bit of a detriment for CM Punk because in that match, he did suffer a major injury that sidelined him for a few months in 2024. But Punk did have a little bit of a say, as we would say, later on in the year, as he had an integral part in one of the major moments that WWE had. So after that was over, we actually move on to February, which was the Elimination Chamber from Perth, Australia. And on that night, the Kabuki Warriors won. Well, actually, that's a pre-show match. And it was the Women's World title as Becky Lynch was the winner of the match. And she got to move on to WrestleMania as she would go on as the reigning champion. Then, of course, at the time, the Judgment Day, which was Finn Balor and Damian Priest, along with Dominic Mysterio at the time, they beat the New Czech Republic to successfully defend the Tag Team Championship. Drew McIntyre winning the Men's Elimination Chamber that opened the door for him to get a shot at the World Heavyweight Championship. And the reigning champion at the time was Seth freaking Rollins. And we had ourselves a big thing to do. And then the hometown girl, Rhea Ripley, successfully winning the Women's World Championship at the time, going up against Nia Jax. And she would propel herself on the road to WrestleMania. Oh, wrong event. Let's see. That would lead us to the Showcase of the Immortals, WrestleMania. And when it comes to WrestleMania, of course, the two-night affair. And what we did start with on night one was Rhea Ripley successfully defending the title over Becky Lynch. This was right at the point where Rhea was on her big run. Nobody could stop Rhea Ripley. Rhea was, without a doubt, the most dominating champion, a part of the best group, or the best stable at the time in WWE, as she was part of the Judgment Day. Of course, in the six-pack challenge, there was basically two belts being separated. They had basically two brand belts, one for Raw, one for SmackDown. A-Town Down Under captures the SmackDown Tag Team titles, the Awesome Truth capturing the Raw Tag Team titles. Then, in what was undoubtedly one of the bigger shockers of the night, it was Rey Mysterio and Andrade. They teamed up against Santo Escobar and Dirty Dominic Mysterio. Now, the reason why this was going on was because Andrade came back at the Royal Rumble, shocking the world. El Idolo rise again. He came back, monstrous applause, monstrous shocker. Then it was a part of Legado del Fantasma. They were having a war with the LWO, and Andrade decided to pick a side at that night. There was a beatdown segment on SmackDown prior to WrestleMania. Dragon Lee got taken out, injured, was unable to wrestle at WrestleMania because there was supposed to be Dragon Lee in the spot. Andrade was like, "No, amigo, I got you. I'll be your partner at WrestleMania." Yes, there was a mini reunion between Zelina Vega and Andrade, which honestly hit me in the feels more than Anthony Foyer or Michael Bullock, because they know how close the closeness of Andrade and Zelina was back in the day. Then we had the brothers of the Usos, Jey Uso versus Jimmy Uso. Jey Uso winning the match. Jey Uso having a monster 2024. We'll get into his road a little bit later on because he does win a singles title for the first time in his major career. Then we had was Jade Cargill, Naomi, and Bianca Belair. 6-women tag against Damage Control. The faces won the squad, won the match. And this was Jade Cargill's also coming out moment in 2024, leaving AEW to go to WWE. She made her debut, was really good at the Royal Rumble, and this was kind of the escalation and what was proving to be a very good 2024 for the Storm herself. Then the first major bomb of the night at WrestleMania was Sami Zayn, the underdog of the underground, knocking off Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship. This reign lasted over 2 years, 666 days. And Sami was the one to end the streak. Omen for WrestleMania. Streaks comes to die at WrestleMania. And that will be proven a little bit later on when we get into night 2. And speaking of night 1, the main event was Roman Reigns and The Rock against Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes. And there was some major implications on that. Because if Roman's team won, then the next night, the main event for the world title would have been under Bloodline rules. If Cody and Seth won, Bloodline was barred from ringside. It's a straight up one-on-one, no interference, no interference by anybody. Everybody gets barred from ringside. Bloodline wins. Bloodline rules on night number 2 for WrestleMania. And as far as WrestleMania goes, here's what happened. Then we had Drew McIntyre. He ended up getting the opportunity at Seth Rollins. Drew wins the title. Now he's gloating, he's celebrating, he's off about winning the title. CM Punk, who was at ringside, nursing an injury, was unable to compete. Drew McIntyre was the man that was responsible for that injury. That turned to be a fatal mistake on Drew McIntyre's part because Punk attacks Drew after the match was over, which prompted Damian Priest, who at the time in 2023 won the Money in the Bank briefcase, decided now is the time to pull it, now is the time to cash in, now is the time to make the history. And it turned glorious. And we had El Campeón born right before our very eyes. Damian Priest wins the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania, cementing his legacy as El Campeón, as we say. And history was made on that night. Then moving on to some other stuff that happened. Logan Paul successfully defending his United States Championship. Bayley winning the Women's Championship, the WWE Women's title, after a major fallout with Damage Control. She was basically with the crew. The crew kicked her out because they thought that Bayley was holding them down. And of course, the implosion happened. But Bayley was resourceful enough and was able to rise to that occasion and won the women's title. And then, of course, the main event of WrestleMania, under Bloodline rules, total chaos on all fronts in that particular matchup where the Bloodline tried to come out. There was an equalizer. Jey Uso came out. John Cena came out. Of course, The Rock and Cena had a moment. They went at it. And then The Undertaker shows up to take out The Rock, leaving it as a one-on-one affair. And after 1,316 days as champion, Cody Rhodes finished the story and became the new, undisputed World Wrestling Entertainment Heavyweight Champion by winning it at WrestleMania. It was the most emotional moment that we've ever had in commentary history. I was almost in tears. Florio was almost in tears. Samantha Irvin literally broke down in tears when she was making the announcement. It was a historic moment in wrestling, the changing of the guard, as we would say, and it was indeed history being made, an unprecedented crowning as Cody Rhodes finally became the heavyweight champion of the world. Then the fallout from that, after that, was the first event was Backlash in Paris. And then, of course, Cody Rhodes' first opponent was the phenomenal AJ Styles. And this was when WWE went out of the United States. They were in France. And let me tell you, France is in the running for pay-per-view of the year. We'll talk about that a little bit later on tonight as our possible awards will be handed out tonight for pay-per-view of the year. But the crowd was absolutely amazing. The whole weekend, when it started out on SmackDown, and it was a blast. We had so much fun with this event. We never knew what the crowd was going to be like for these type of events. And France brought a whole new level to WWE PLE events that we were like, you got to do more events outside of the United States if we're going to get this kind of reaction week in and week out. And sure enough, expect more PLEs outside of the United States in 2025. Already was confirmed by Triple H and the Brass that there will be more PLEs outside of the US. So we had Bayley, her first major title defense, triple threat against Naomi and Tiffany Stratton. Bayley goes over. Damian Priest's first major title defense as a tag team champion, I should say as a world heavyweight champion, was against Jey Uso. Damian Priest won that. And then we also made more history when Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair became the new WWE Women's Tag Team Champions. And then, of course, AJ Styles successfully defending his title again, or I should say Cody Rhodes successfully defending his title against AJ Styles. Then we had the King and Queen of the Ring. The King of the Ring tournament winner was Gunther, beating Randy Orton. Yes, there was some controversy at the end of the match, but Gunther does get the win. On the women's side, Nia Jax wins the women's Queen of the Ring. And the big caveat about that was that if you won your match, you got a guaranteed shot at the world champion, whoever that may be, at SummerSlam. So we do indeed. Tail. Of course, there was Clash at the Castle, which was we had Clash at the Castle. There was a rematch, AJ Styles versus Cody Rhodes. I quit. Cody Rhodes won the title and keeps it. Then we had the Unholy Union. Alba Fire and Isla Dawn winning the women's tag team titles over Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair. Sami Zayn continued his great run as the Intercontinental Champion. Bayley continues her run as the women's champion. And then Damian Priest beating Drew McIntyre, thanks in part to some interjection by CM Punk to successfully defend the World Heavyweight Championship. From there, we move on to Money in the Bank in Toronto. And what happened next was that Drew McIntyre did indeed retrieved the briefcase, so he got the Money in the Bank back, or he got the Money in the Bank that would open the door, maybe for him to get the world title. Well, we shall see. Sami Zayn successfully defending the Intercontinental title against Braun Breaker. Then the twist. Damian Priest went in to try, went up against Seth freaking Rollins. Drew McIntyre showed up with the Money in the Bank, cashing it in by making it a triple threat. But Damian Priest, some way, somehow, successfully defended the title. Then Tiffany Stratton winning the Women's Money in the Bank. And for Tiff, she actually successfully has held on to that Money in the Bank and has not cashed in. She's teased it, but has not cashed in yet. And then the main event, the New Bloodline, which was Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga, and Solo Sikoa. They beat Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens, and Randy Orton in the main event. That led us to SummerSlam and the hottest night of the summer. From there, at Cleveland Browns Stadium, Liv Morgan successfully defending the Women's World Championship. Now you're wondering, wait a minute, you just mentioned Liv. How did she get the title? Well, it goes back to that Queen of the Ring event. She went up against Becky Lynch because what happened was during the time, Rhea Ripley suffered an injury that was caused by Liv Morgan. On that point, Rhea had to forfeit and relinquish the Women's World title. The belt was vacated. Becky Lynch, who was away from WWE, came back to win the title and prevent Liv Morgan from winning it. Well, Liv became the number one contender, and thanks to a mess-up, a mistake by Dominic Mysterio, Liv Morgan won the title. Liv Morgan held on to the belt a little while longer. Next thing you know, she was getting a little more cozier with Dirty Dominic Mysterio. One problem. Mommy's home. Mommy came back. Rhea Ripley showed up, and she wanted her belt back. So we had a little bit of this tit for tat leading into the match where Liv was flirting with Dom. Dom didn't want nothing to do with it. And then Rhea told her, look, you got to put your foot down. Either you get rid of Liv Morgan and get her out of your life, or I'm out. I don't give a damn. Dom eviscerates Liv Morgan on a Monday Night Raw prior to SummerSlam. Absolutely just destroys her on the mic. Liv goes off in absolute tears, crying, devastation. So it looks like Mommy and Dirty Dom are together. They're fine. Everything's great. Well, all that changed at SummerSlam. So Dom tries to interfere, thinking she's interfering on the behalf of Rhea Ripley. Oh no. Liv Morgan gets the upper hand, wins the match, wins the title, and then the oh my god, a candidate for Moment of the Year and a candidate for oh my god of the year, Dom kisses Liv at ringside. My jaw hits the floor. Floyd's jaw hits the floor. Michael Bullock was on commentary. He went phenom rant. He went nuts. I'll let him explain what he meant later on. Because, my God, did he eviscerate Dom when he did it. It was a thing of beauty. We'll say that. Later on in the night, some other matches that went down at SummerSlam was Braun Breaker finally winning the Intercontinental Championship. Not only that, LA Knight also winning the United States title. Nia Jax becoming the WWE Women's Champion. then after that, Gunther wins the World Heavyweight Championship thanks to some interference by Damian Priest. By Finn Balor, I should say. He screwed over Damian Priest, and then Cody Rhodes beat Solo Sikoa in the main event thanks to some help by Roman Reigns. The OTC came back and came for a pint of blood came for a pint of blood on Solo Sikoa. And back at Berlin, that was after SummerSlam. It's kind of more of a house show. Cody Rhodes successfully defends its title. Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair winning back the WWE Women's Tag Team titles in a strap match. It was CM Punk beating Drew McIntyre. The Terror Twins beating the Judgment Day in a mixed tag. And then Gunther successfully defending the heavyweight championship as he knocked off Randy Orton gloating him into a title fight. After that is Bad Blood. On Bad Blood, CM Punk, Drew McIntyre were in Hell in a Cell. CM Punk won. Nia Jax winning, successfully defending her women's title. Finn Balor, Damian Priest were going at it. They basically, Damian Priest winning. Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley in a one-on-one. Dominic Mysterio was locked up in a shark cage. Rhea won by DQ because Raquel Rodriguez showed up and jumped Liv Morgan to get up. Attacked Rhea Ripley. Attacked Rhea Ripley, getting that point of revenge on Rhea because Rhea injured Raquel and put her on the sideline. So the pattern started to dwell is that the people that Rhea injured the year prior were all coming back to get payback on Rhea Ripley. Rhea was the most over person at the time. They all turned heel, but it was that eye for an eye. You hurt me prior. I came back to get a piece of your ass. And to me, both Liv Morgan's beat down on Rhea Ripley and Raquel Rodriguez's beat down on Rhea Ripley were both valid, in my opinion. Much to the chagrin of Anthony Floyd and Michael Blake, we got into a little bit of a heated exchange multiple times over those incidents, and then of course Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns teaming up, they beating the Bloodline, as that led us to the next, which was the Crown Jewel event. That was in Saudi Arabia. And then from there, what we had on that particular night, Bloodline winning in a six-man tag team fight. Of course, Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair successfully defending their tag team titles. Seth Rollins beating Bronson Reed in a one-on-one. Liv Morgan beating Nia Jax. This was a champion versus champion for the Crown Jewel Championship. Liv Morgan getting the win there. LA Knight winning in a triple threat. And then Cody Rhodes beating Gunther in the battle of the men's world champions. That was kind of more of a, battle. It was kind of a battle for brand supremacy more than anything else. But then in November was Survivor Series. Then we had, of course, 2 War Games matches. Rhea Ripley winning it for her team, pinning Liv Morgan. That opened the door for them to continue their storyline, to say the very least. Shinsuke Nakamura coming back, basically was out basically majority of the year. A lot of people thought, oh my God, he's going to get fired. He's going to get released. He was doing a lot of things in Japan, wasn't doing anything in WWE. Well, he came back just in the nick of time and became the United States Heavyweight Champion, ending the run of LA Knight. Braun Breaker winning a triple threat to successfully defend the Intercontinental Championship. Of course, Gunther successfully defending his world title. And then in the main event, the men's War Games match, Roman Reigns, the OTC Bloodline, winning with CM Punk in their corner. It was kind of the wise man coming back. Basically, during the run of where basically while Roman was away, Solo assumed the leadership of the bloodline, and then basically trying to muscle Paul Heyman to acknowledge him as the leader. Well, Paul said, "No, I'm not going to acknowledge you." And in Madison Square Garden, Paul Heyman got destroyed, got put right through a table. And then that led to a lot of the chain reaction. Then Jimmy Uso, Jey Uso, they reunite. Sami Zayn came back into the fold. Roman Reigns was back. And they were like, you know what? We're going to go into war. Paul Heyman decided, I'm going to bring a fifth guy so that you guys will be 5-on-5. It ended up being CM Punk. Punk basically told Roman, look, I'm not here for you. I'm here for Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman asked me for something. He wanted me to help you guys out. In return, he owes me a favor. We don't even know what that favor is yet. We have inklings of what that favor could be. But as of now, we don't know. At the end of the Survivor Series, when it was all said and done, there was that thing where there was a big embrace between Paul Heyman and CM Punk, and CM Punk said, remember the favor. There's going to be a time where I call you, and I'm going to need you to do that for me. Paul Heyman's like, you got it. Anything you need, man, I got you. You helped me, I'll help you. You scratched my back, I'll scratch yours. Don't worry, I got you. So we'll wait and see what that favor is. It's definitely going to probably come into prominence in 2025. And then, obviously, the last thing that we did have here was the Saturday night's main event. That was the last kind of major event that we just had recently. Drew McIntyre beating Sami Zayn, Liv Morgan beating Io Sky. Now it looks like it will be Liv versus Rhea. And we can now confirm January 6th, when Monday Night Raw goes to Netflix, that will be the match, and that's been set. Gunther is currently the World Heavyweight Champion going into 2025. Not only that, but we also had Chelsea Green making history, becoming the first ever women's United States champion. We will have a women's Intercontinental champion crowned on that first Monday Night Raw in 25. Cody Rhodes beating Kevin Owens, successfully defending the WWE Championship. We can now confirm that Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens will continue their program. They have announced that at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, Indiana, on February 1st, 2025, in a ladder match, it will be Cody Rhodes versus Kevin Owens for the undisputed WWE Championship. But there's not one belt there. There's going to be two belts. The traditional WWE Championship that Cody Rhodes is currently holding, and Kevin Owens that stole the legendary World Wrestling Federation Winged Eagle Championship belt. He's been running around with that belt on that night. Both belts will be suspended. The first man to capture both championship titles will be the champion of the world. So that's it. That's my 2025. It's been an incredible year. 2024, I should say. Incredible year. Triple H and the boys have outdone themselves, and I cannot wait to see what they bring in 2025. Anthony Florio, come on in. If you got TNA, drop TNA. But give me your thoughts on your 2024 year in review.
Well, I'll tell you, MF. Honest to goodness, this honestly was the most successful financial year in WWE history in 2024. Setting all kinds of records, selling out everywhere they went, whether it was Raw, SmackDown, pay-per-view. They kept breaking their own records. And all of that is because of the vision of one man, that being Paul Triple H Levesque. And ever since he took over the creative, mercifully, WWE is on an all-time high right now. And I'm going to make a bold prediction right here and right now. I think 2025 is going to be an even bigger year for WWE. Of course, you covered everything there was to cover in WWE in 2024. I'll give you the Cliff Notes version here. Cody Rhodes winning, becoming only the fourth man in WWE history to win back-to-back Royal Rumble matches. And he joins the likes of, get this lineup, Hulk Hogan, Shawn Michaels, and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Pretty elite company as far as I'm concerned. Bayley winning the Women's Royal Rumble, setting a new longevity record, over an hour and 3 minutes to win that Women's Royal Rumble. And all the international pay-per-views, from the Elimination Chamber in Australia to Backlash in France. Yes, MF, that crowd was absolutely insane. I mean, you couldn't stop laughing. You were having so much fun with it. You called them knuckleheads and all that good stuff. And, of course, on that Simplement Du, yeah, on 2 counts, they had a Simplement Du chant, which was awesome. And Scotland for Clash at the Castle, and Toronto for Money in the Bank, the 2 shows in Saudi Arabia. And Paul Triple H Levesque wants WWE to be a major global brand, and there's going to be more. There's going to be plenty more where that came from. No question about that next year. But the biggest WrestleMania of all time, Cody Rhodes finishing the story, winning the title, the greatest ending to a WrestleMania you will ever see, and Sami Zayn ending the run of Gunther as the Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion, Bayley winning the WWE Women's Championship, and the most, of course, McIntyre. All McIntyre had to do was, all he had to do was leave it alone. All he had to do was walk away and let it be. But that ego and seeing CM Punk on commentary just bothered him to the point where he was like, I'm going to rub it in your face. Yeah, big mistake there, big boy. All you had to do was leave well enough alone, and CM Punk did not screw you, big boy. Drew McIntyre screwed Drew McIntyre. End of story. And that's why Damian Priest became the World Heavyweight Champion, cashing in Money in the Bank. And, that crowd in France, like I said, unbelievable. Scotland, the special moment for Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. Alba Fire, I believe, I think right around that time had lost her mother, I believe it was. And what a special moment for her and for Isla Dawn to capture those women's tag team titles in their home country of Scotland. Special moment for them. Tiffany Stratton, Miss Money in the Bank, winning the Money in the Bank in Toronto. She's going to be a major player in 2025. I'm telling you that right now. I believe in my heart of hearts that she will be at some point. She will be the WWE Women's Champion. And when she cashes in, oh my goodness, that place is going to blow. I'm going to tell you that right now, wherever they decide to do it. And SummerSlam will forever be known as the night of the Judgment Day implosion. Dominic Mysterio turning on Rhea Ripley and going with Liv Morgan. Finn Balor turning on Damian Priest. And new champions crowned in Cleveland. Special night, to say the least. And okay, so there was that. A big night at SummerSlam, no doubt about it. Great show. September. And then, of course, Bash in Berlin. Gunther and Randy Orton, definitely the standout right there. And so many other things. Of course, we really don't have time to cover all of that stuff. But all in all, a big year for WWE in 2024, the most successful year financially. I believe 2025 is going to trump it. Of course, we all got to go. We all got to experience Monday Night Raw back on August the 26th at the Amica Mutual Pavilion. Special night indeed. Jey Uso winning the Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship in September. September 23rd, Ontario, California, of all places. Special moment there. And of course, the return of Saturday night's main event. Gave us all the feels, no doubt about it. The presentation was as old school as possible. The return of my man Jesse the Body Ventura definitely conjured up some great memories for me. No question about that. And we'll leave NXT to Bullock because we all know how much because that's Bullock's thing. But of course, SmackDown was on Fox for a good majority of the year. That was until September the 13th when SmackDown returned to the USA Network. And starting this Friday night, the first SmackDown of 2025, SmackDown going 3 hours. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And of course, the big thing from Monday Night Raw, of course, 1 week from tomorrow, when Raw goes Netflix. And what a fight card that's going to be at the Intuit Dome in LA next week. That is going to be something else. I cannot wait. And hopefully we'll get a show here in Providence, whether it's Raw on Netflix or SmackDown on USA. I highly doubt we're ever going to get a pay-per-view again, especially because of all these international pay-per-views, So it'll be interesting if we do get one, but I don't know. And then in the world of TNA, Hard to Kill was the first pay-per-view event of the year. The two big, some big moments happened during that. Jordynne Grace winning the Knockouts Championship, defeating Trinity, Naomi. And we also crowned a new TNA heavyweight champion in Moose. He ended the run of Alex Shelley as champion, but it also saw the debut of Nick Nemeth. Nick Nemeth made his TNA debut at Hard to Kill at the Palms Casino Resort in Paradise, Nevada. So, of course, we also had the TNA specials, of course, on TNA Plus. And, of course, TNA would return to the Palms Casino Resort for their second major pay-per-view of 2024, Rebellion. Nick Nemeth, we thought was going to win the title here, but he ended up losing to Moose in the main event. And not really much more to get into there. Rebellion was a solid show. Slammiversary in Montreal, Quebec, Canada at the Verdun Auditorium on July 20th. A night that we all thought Joe Hendry was going to have his big moment and become the TNA heavyweight champion. That did not happen in that six-pack challenge elimination match. Josh Alexander turning heel and literally eliminating him from that match. Nick Nemeth went on to win the title, and he's still the champion to this very day. And then, of course, October, Bound for Glory. Joe Hendry gets another shot at the TNA Heavyweight Championship. This time in a one-on-one environment, one-on-one with Nick Nemeth in a match that was not even the main event of that show. And it ended up going to Nick Nemeth because of John Bradshaw Layfield. Ended up costing Joe Hendry the match. But Joe Hendry did get himself another opportunity, winning at the final resolution event a couple of weeks ago. And he defeated Mike Santana, Steve Macklin, and Josh Alexander to earn himself yet another opportunity at the TNA Heavyweight Championship against Nick Nemeth. And that'll take place 3 weeks from tonight, January the 19th. TNA presents the Genesis pay-per-view from Dallas, Texas. And could the third time be the charm for Joe Hendry? Joe Hendry, of course, with this meteoric rise coming out of nowhere and taking the world of professional wrestling by storm. And why this guy is not the TNA heavyweight champion right now is beyond me. But I got this feeling that perhaps in 3 weeks, the third time will finally be the charm and he will finally become the TNA heavyweight champion. So we'll see what happens at Genesis. A lot of changes in TNA. Scott D'Amore ran the show, unceremoniously let go, and they fell under new ownership and new management. And yet TNA is still doing very good. They're still doing very well. And Santino Marella, now the on-screen authority figure. And of course, the last big thing that really came out of this year for me, and I'm sure for you guys too, what about the TNA NXT crossover? I mean, how great was that? Wasn't that great stuff? I mean, Joe Hendry, when he showed up on NXT, I mean, sending the Performance Center into mass hysteria. I mean, one of the most viral moments of the year, no doubt about it. And Zachary Wentz coming in, and of course NXT talent showing up on TNA events. Most notably Wendy Chu and Ariana Grace, who was appointed by her father, Santino Marella, as the liaison of the NXT TNA crossover. It's died down a little bit, but when that thing was going, we definitely had a lot of standout moments during that, especially Joe Hendry. But yeah, NXT going to the CW after all the years on USA, and needless to say, 2024 was the best year of WWE we've ever seen. I think every year going forward, they're going to top themselves year in and year out as long as Paul Triple H Levesque is running things. And I expect big things from TNA as well, especially Joe Hendry and, Jordan Grace on her way out. Tessa Blanchard coming back. I mean, that's big for the Knockouts division. She does have a lot of baggage, yes. And of course, Jordan Grace is being asked to put her over. They're going to battle at Genesis in 3 weeks. And I think it'll be on that night where Jordan Grace will wrap up with TNA. And don't be surprised if she goes to WWE and she'll be ready in time for the Women's Royal Rumble match. So, great year in professional wrestling. I'm excited to see what 2025 has in store, especially with Raw on Netflix and all these big events coming up. And so I don't know what else there is for me to say on it. MF pretty much touched on everything WWE. So not much more to say except Michael Bullock. I know you've been chomping at the bits here. So, of course, your standout moments in WWE, but of course, I know you've got a lot. I'm sure you've got a bit to say about your show, NXT.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, this was a pretty good year in professional wrestling, especially with WWE. I mean, you said starting off with the Royal Rumble, of course, with Cody Rhodes, of course, winning the men's Royal Rumble. When we all, I mean, originally this was supposed to be CM Punk winning it, but because of that injury that he suffered at the hands of Drew McIntyre, they had to do a 180 and they had to go with Cody Rhodes. And of course, Bayley winning the women's Royal Rumble match. And then of course we headed to Australia for Elimination Chamber, and it was a homecoming for Mommy Rhea Ripley, where she successfully defended her women's world title in her home country against Nia Jax. And of course, you also had Becky Lynch, of course, winning the women's Elimination Chamber to get her shot at Rhea at WrestleMania. And of course, like you said, we go to WrestleMania and Rhea successfully defending her title at WrestleMania. I mean, And of course, like you said, Sami Zayn doing the impossible and finally dethroning Gunther and becoming the new Intercontinental Champion. And like you said, the main event, of course, of night one was Roman Reigns and The Rock against Cody Rhodes and Seth freaking Rollins, with important stipulations, of course, with if Cody and Seth won, the bloodline was barred from ringside. But if Roman and The Rock won, it's bloodline rules. And unfortunately, that's where Roman and The Rock won. So it was an uphill battle for Cody Rhodes for night two. And we get to night two, of course. Drew McIntyre wins the World Heavyweight Championship, and he still would have had it. All he had to do was basically walk away. But what did he do? With CM Punk on commentary, he had to go over there, gloat, and saying, "This was my moment. I took away your moment. Now it's mine." Yeah, well, because you decided to run your big mouth, you end up getting beaten up by CM Punk, and this is where Damian Priest cashed in and became the World Heavyweight Champion. And of course, like you said, it all led up to the main event. Bloodline rules. Cody Rhodes against Roman Reigns for the undisputed WWE Championship. And like you said, we had a lot of craziness in this with, of course, with Jey Uso coming out to counter Jimmy Uso. And then Solo came out and looked like Cody was getting screwed again. And then out comes John Cena and he takes out Solo. Then here comes The Rock. We have a WrestleMania moment where The Rock and John Cena faced off, and The Rock got the best of Cena, and then out comes Seth freaking Rollins in the Shield gear, but Roman intercepted him, and just when it looked like The Rock was gonna have free whoopings on Cody Rhodes, you heard the gong, and we were like, no way. And especially me, I'm like, is he here? And there he was. The Undertaker took out The Rock and basically showed The Rock who the real final boss is. And that was the Phenom. And Cody Rhodes finished the story, ending the long reign of Roman Reigns. Yeah, and then, of course, it was a really good. Of course, unfortunately, Rhea got attacked by Liv Morgan, and because of that, she had to give up the women's world title, much to the chagrin of Liv Morgan. And of course, a little side story: Anthony Florio loves. He goes gaga over Liv Morgan's laugh. I've heard it so many times. So, story for another day. And yeah, basically, Cody Rhodes has a successful title reign throughout the remainder of the spring, and then of course we get to SummerSlam, like you said, with Rhea returning and Dominic finally showing his true colors and screwing over Rhea Ripley and siding with Liv Morgan. And then, like you said, the OTC return and screwed Solo over, and of course Nia Jax becoming the women's champion. And yeah, and then of course you go through all that, and then we get to the Survivor Series. We had both of those War Games matches, especially the OG Bloodline and the new Bloodline. So, and of course, the return of Saturday night's main event with it went old school, of course, with the return of Jesse the Body Ventura, and of course, Cody Rhodes sporting the Wing Eagle, the championship. And of course, when it comes to NXT, of course, the NXT moving to the CW after a good run on USA, of course. Of course, Trick Williams finally became the NXT champion, and his popularity definitely went up. And of course, Roxanne Perez, of course, winning the NXT Women's title from Lyra Valkyria at Stand and Deliver, and she's been the champion since then, and has turned back the challenge of so many different challengers, especially and let's not, especially with one of the newcomers in Julia. And of course, we had some other newcomers this year with Stephanie Vacour and of course Zarya, aka Delta, and of course, like you said, the crossover with NXT and TNA. Of course, appearances by Joe Henry, and of course, Hammerstone also made an appearance against Obafemi, and of course, Rosemary had that unique alliance with Wendy Chu. So yeah, so a lot of things that happened with NXT, and then of course, and they're going to kick off 2025 with New Year's Evil. Of course, we're gonna get a triple threat match with with the Trick Williams and Obafemi and Eddie Thorpe, and I think this is where I think Obafemi is going to become the new champion after he had such a successful run with the North American Championship, and then of course Roxanne Perez will defend the title against Julia once again, and I don't know about you guys. I think this time around, I think Julia will end the run of Roxanne Perez. But then again, we've been wrong so many times. I mean, how many times have we said, "Oh, Roxanne Perez is going to finally lose the title," and yet somehow, some way, she defies the odds? Well, we'll see what happens here. But I got a feeling it's gonna happen this time. But you know what? If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. So that's pretty much all I got to say when it comes to WWE side. So, Fletch, I think it's time to hand out some awards.
All right, with that said, we are indeed going to do it. Let me grab the list. And here we go. We are starting out with the breakout performer of the year. All right, now this can go a number of different ways. If you're talking about for WWE, man, probably Chelsea Green. I mean, what she's done this year has been like she's been one of the most over people right now in WWE that I can't really say anything bad about her, man. I mean, she just recently became the women's US champion, and that would be definitely worth the consideration. And of course, you know, we talk about La Valkyria. We can talk about one other would probably be like maybe if you want to talk on NXT. Um, man, there's so many different people, but I'd say my breakout. I gotta go Chelsea Green. I know that's gonna be probably a disagreement, but hey, it is what it is. So, Anthony Florio, it's yours.
Which award is this one?
Breakout.
Yeah, there is going to be a disagreement on this one. It's honestly between two for me. It's between Obafemi and Joe Henry. If I'm going to be honest with you, I got to give a slight edge to Obafemi because Obafemi was a very dominant NXT North American champion, and if Joe Henry didn't get screwed out of the TNA Heavyweight Championship those two times at Slammiversary and Bound for Glory, I most certainly would have given it to Joe Henry because of how his popularity just came out of absolute nowhere to the point where he was at one time the most over guy in professional wrestling during the summer. But for right now, for me, my breakout star of 2024 is Oba Femi. And who knows? He could end up starting 2025 in a humongous way should he become the NXT champion as part of New Year's Evil 9 nights from now. So for me, my breakout star of 2024, Oba Femi. So, Michael Bullock, do you agree with me? Do you agree with MF? Or do you have somebody else for your breakout star of the year?
Well, my breakout star of the year, I got to go with Oba Femi. I mean, he turned back the challenge of so many different superstars during his run as the North American champion. I mean, I could go through the names of all of them, but there were just so many of them. And yeah, I mean, he definitely opened my eyes during the year, and who knows, he could start 2025 with a bang, becoming the NXT champion. But we'll wait and see. But for right now, my breakout star is Oba Femi.
All right. With that said, Anthony Flair, you need to come on in. We are going to be talking about the moment of the year.
This is not even close. We know what the moment of the year is. Although I will be honest, we did have, a few other standouts, such as Jey Uso winning the Intercontinental Championship on Monday Night Raw on September 23rd, and so many and countless others. But for me, the moment of the year, and it's not even close, WrestleMania 40, Cody Rhodes finishing the story, winning the undisputed WWE Universal Championship in the main event, defeating Roman Reigns in that Bloodline Rules match. It's not. This is spoiler alert. This is not going to be the last time we mention that match, or at least I mentioned that match. For me, but the moment of the year, 2024, I think we're all going to be in agreement on this one. I smell the unanimous vote on this one. Moment of the year, Cody Rhodes finishing the story, WrestleMania 40. Michael Bullock, am I correct in assuming that this is going to be pretty much a unanimous vote here?
You are correct, my friend. Without a doubt, it is Cody Rhodes finally finishing the story and becoming the undisputed champion at WrestleMania. I mean, there is no doubt about it. I mean, finally finishing the story, and of course, with all that craziness that I just talked about in the year in review. So, yeah, there's really nothing more for me to say. So, the moment of the year, Cody Rhodes finally finishing the story. So, Fletch, do you agree with us? We're gonna make it unanimous, or are you going with something else that we didn't know about?
I'm in an agreement. I don't think there's really much argument on this one. The moment of the year is indeed Cody Rhodes winning the undisputed WWE Championship at WrestleMania. I don't think there's really much of an argument for us to even say on that one. So yeah, nothing more to add on that one. Next up that we did have on the docket, let me see if I can pull it up. Oops, wait, hold on. No, let me see where is it. All right, Tag Team of the Year, and Michael Bullock, you lead off.
Well, I mean, what can you say? I mean, there was, wow, this is tough. I mean, well, for me anyway, it's basically WWE related because
I mean, it could be NXT related. It could be
as
from
long as it's not
TNA.
the other, as long as it's not that other company.
Well, unfortunately, yeah, this year they're not included.
Yeah, they're not included. let's just put that to bed right now. Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of really good. Uh, there really are a lot of good candidates for 2024. There's so many of them. It's just tough to go one. I mean, it's tough to decide here. You could. You could go with Nathan Frazier and Axiom with the way. I mean,
Yes.
with the way they've done it. With the so. But you know what? I'm gonna go with Nathan Frazier and Axiom because yes, they've had some problems, but somehow, some way, they still are the tag team champions as they end the year. You could all now. Could this include women too?
If you want to include women, you're allowed to. I don't have an argument. I wouldn't disagree with it.
You could also make the case for Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill, but
Yes.
I
You
mean,
can.
there's just so many of them. But you know what? I'm gonna stick with Nathan Frazier and Axiom here because
Hmm.
the thing is, yes, Jade and Bianca had a good run with the tag titles, but of course, we all know what happened with Jade,
Yeah.
where she got taken out, and of course, right now Naomi is the co-holder of the tag title. So I think because of that, I'm gonna have to give the slight edge to Nathan Frazier and Axiom. So Fletch, it is yours.
I am actually going Nathan Frazier and Axiom. You're right, Michael Bullock. Look, as far as the tag team goes, you can make an argument for Finn Balor and JD McDonough from the Judgment Day, even though, yes, I know they didn't defend the titles very much. I get that.
And
You
and
can
that's
make
the
an
reason.
argument
And that's the reason why I'm not including them in there because to me,
because of the
when
because they didn't defend it that often. I get it.
mm-hmm,
But but I'm just saying that as an example. But you could even say, I know Anthony would definitely look maybe more towards TNA on this one because as far as WWE goes, there wasn't really a standout tag champion. Maybe A-Town Down Under if you want to go there, but I don't know if that would even remotely say anything. Motor City Machine Guns had the belts, but that was too short of a reign. DIY just got the belts. We can't really say much. On the Raw side, yeah, Awesome Truth had it for a little bit. Then they lost the belt to the Judgment Day. Judgment Day had it, but again, not they didn't really defend it that much. Then you had now you got the current champion, the the War Raiders having it. I don't think you can really honor that. I don't think you can really say much about that. So obviously WWE, if you go down that scale, there's not really a team that stood out in my mind in the men's. Yes, if you want to go Bianca Belair, Jay Cargill, I can give you that. That would be a fine choice. But I'm going off the reservation. I'm going to NXT. Bullock, you nailed it. It is Axiom and Nathan Frazier. Yes, regardless of all the drama, regardless of all the things, they have kept winning matches. They have kept winning and keeping the tag team titles despite the friction, despite the tease of a breakup. They have not done that. They've found a way to win it. They are my tag team of the year. Anthony Florio, it is yours.
The only other team that I could see other than outside of Nathan Frazier and Axiom would be from TNA, that being Ace Austin and Chris Bay, ABC.
Okay.
They had a phenomenal year before that unfortunate and very untimely injury that Chris Bay suffered, and all the love and support he has gotten because of that, and very speedy recovery to the finesser, no doubt about that. But But yes, I'm going to make it unanimous. It is Nathan Frazier and Axiom. But like I said, the only other team that was even remotely close to them was ABC, Ace Austin and Chris Bay. And because they had a very good run with those TNA tag team championships. But Frazier and Axiom, banger after banger after banger after banger of matches. And every time that we so many times recently, we've said, oh, they're going to lose the titles. They're going to lose the titles. They still have them. So how can we ignore that? So tag team of the year, Nathan Frazier and Axiom from NXT. MF, let's get on to the next award.
All right. With that said, we do indeed move on. And the next award is the comeback of the year. All right. This one's going to be interesting because I don't know if we can really call it a comeback. I mean, there's this one's probably going to be the most difficult for me because now I got to think long and hard about, comeback of the year. Was there one that really stood out over the other? I don't really know for for comeback because you're thinking, all right, who had like a significant injury or who really had like a big thing? Maybe you can talk about Punk because of his injury after he suffered from the Royal Rumble. Randy Orton, but Orton, I don't think you can really do that. This one's difficult, man. I don't know. I mean, the comeback of the year, I don't. Maybe Becky Lynch, but the thing was Becky was away because of you know I guess Becky Lynch because of her coming back to become the women's world champion. But I don't even know if you can resort that as a comeback. Anthony Florio, I mean,
I got this one. No, I have this one. It doesn't necessarily have to be a significant injury. It could also be someone who's been gone from the game for some time. And there is no question about who I have as my comeback wrestler of the year. It's Nick Nemeth from TNA. I mean, Nick Nemeth from TNA. I mean, we didn't really hear much from him in 2023 that I recall.
Yeah, he was pretty quiet.
He comes back at Hard to Kill, makes an immediate impact, no pun intended. And then 6 months later, at Slammiversary, he becomes the TNA heavyweight champion. And to this day, he is still the TNA heavyweight champion. Although that could change come 3 weeks from tonight at the Genesis pay-per-view in Dallas when he defends against Joe Hendry. So yeah, there's no doubt about this one in my mind. My comeback wrestler of 2024, TNA heavyweight champion, the wanted man, Nick Nemeth. Michael Bullock, what says you?
I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to go with Nick Nemeth because, like you said, we didn't hear of Nick Nemeth, a.k.a. Dolph Ziggler, in 2023 at all. And we kept wondering, will he ever come back to wrestling? And, well, he did come back to TNA. Of course, that made his debut at TNA as Nick Nemeth. So, and he had an immediate impact, especially when he became the TNA World Heavyweight Champion. So, I'm going to go with Nick Nemeth as my comeback wrestler of the year.
It's now time for the pay-per-view of the year. Anthony Florio, it is yours.
WrestleMania 40. I mean, what else is there to say? Now I get it. I mean, we had this was a really good year for pay-per-views. In WWE and TNA and NXT. I mean, notable worthy candidates, SummerSlam, NXT Heatwave. I mean, NXT Heatwave was an amazing show. Deadline for NXT was a great show. The international pay-per-views were all amazing, especially France. I mean, You could definitely make an argument for France, no question about it. But now I know night one of WrestleMania 40, wasn't overly spectacular, but night two, WrestleMania night two, that's the pay-per-view of the year right there. I mean, not one bad match on that show. And of course, WrestleMania gave us several feel-good moments, 3 notable feel-good moments. Sami Zayn ending the reign of Gunther as the Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion. Bayley winning the WWE Women's Championship from Io Sky. But of course, Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, Bloodline Rules. Now the greatest main event in WrestleMania history, the greatest moment in WrestleMania history, the greatest ending in WrestleMania history, when Cody Rhodes won the undisputed WWE Championship, ending the 1,316-day run of Roman Reigns. And it's a moment that we will never, ever forget for as long as we live. And, it's a moment that we in the world are going to remember, until the day the Lord calls us all home. So no doubt about that. So my pay-per-view event of the year, particularly, especially night 2, WrestleMania 40. That's my pay-per-view of the year. Michael Bullock, do you agree with me on that, or do you have another event in mind?
Yeah, I'm going to go with WrestleMania 40 as my pay-per-view of the year. I mean, and like you said, there's so many good pay-per-views, like you said, whether it was with WWE, with NXT, or TNA. But I know night 1, I mean, it was solid, but not overly spectacular, but it was night 2 that really topped it, especially with with Cody Rhodes finishing the story. So for me, WrestleMania 40 is my pay-per-view of the year. So Fletch, what says you?
I'm with you guys. WrestleMania. I don't think there's really much argument on that front. We all kind of agreed that it was going to be WrestleMania. So yeah, total agreement. WrestleMania definitely gets the pay-per-view of the year. Three things to go. Match of the year. Michael Bullock, you lead off.
You know what? And it sucks that AEW is not part of this because of our boycott. Because I'm going to tell you this right now: if it weren't for that, I would have easily said Will Ospreay and Bryan Danielson. But because we're not talking AEW, man, that really puts it. That really makes it tough for me. But especially when it comes to WWE wise, there's so many things you could choose from. But I'm gonna go with what we've been talking about, and that's Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns from WrestleMania 40, because we finally finished the story, and all the drama, the Shakespearean drama that you got from this. I mean, everybody was wondering going into that night too, especially with it becoming Bloodline Rules, could he overcome the odds? Well, he did. I mean, even though he did have some help from Jey Uso, and then of course John Cena, and then it was Seth Rollins, and of course the Undertaker. That made, I mean, with everything that went down. So for me, Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns from night 2 of WrestleMania 40 is my match of the year. So it's yours, Fletch.
I agree. I don't think there's much of an argument. I kind of feel like that is the one that could win it. You could make an argument for the men's Royal Rumble match and maybe even the women's Royal Rumble match, because there was some very high praise about those matches as the match of the year. I think War Games, the men's War Games, was pretty damn good. I really enjoyed how that played out. But at the end, I kind of feel like there is only one. that stands out, and that is Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes, Night 2, Bloodline Rules for the undisputed WWE Universal title. I mean, I don't think there's any other match that would have topped it. I mean, because of the wrestling psychology, because of the story, because of everything that was incorporated in the match, what it meant, the magnitude of the moment, I don't think there's much of an argument. To me, match of the year, Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns, WrestleMania Night 2, Bloodline Rules for the undisputed WWE Universal title. Anthony, it's yours.
There's one other notable match that you guys left out and could have also made an argument for. What about CM Punk and Drew McIntyre in Hell in a Cell? I mean,
yeah,
you could easily make an argument for that as well. And Bullock said it best. I mean, if we weren't boycotting that other company, the true match of the year, in all honesty, is Will Ospreay and Bryan Danielson from the AEW Dynasty pay-per-view in April, technically. But since we're, boycotting them and all that, we have to leave that out. It's Roman and Cody. I mean, Bloodline Rules, Night 2, WrestleMania 40, the emotion behind it, the Shakespearean drama behind it, the universal praise it received, not just from us, but everywhere, social media, all the dirt sheets and the whole 9 yards. And yeah, the only one that, the closest, the only other match that, really would have pushed it was Punk and McIntyre's Hell in a Cell match at Bad Blood. But at the end of the day, it's Cody and Roman. Bloodline Rules, Night 2, WrestleMania 40. That's the match of the year. Even though, in all honesty, the real match of the year is Will Ospreay and Bryan Danielson from the AEW Dynasty in April of this year. So, but not much more to say on that. I believe next up is our female wrestler of the year. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. And I believe it. Yeah, I believe I lead off on this one. Okay. This one is tight. Very close. Because you can make an argument for Jordan Grace from TNA. You can make an argument for Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley from WWE. You can make an argument for Roxanne Perez from NXT. But when it's all said and done, I'm going to give the slight edge to Jordan Grace. What she did in TNA has been an absolute dominating performance. From winning the title back in January, making an appearance in the Women's Royal Rumble match, and continuing her domination in TNA, dealing with not only just the women of NXT, former NXT women, and now current members of the TNA women's roster, she was the dominant force throughout the year before she finally lost the belt to Masha Slamovich. And now it looks like she has one more big battle coming up, and it's going to be against the returning Tessa Blanchard, which you could say was an oh my god moment of the year, or at least an oh god moment nominee. But if you want to go body of work, you got to give the advantage to her. If we took her out of the equation, I would have given it to Liv Morgan. I thought Liv had been absolutely dynamite since returning, and she is without a doubt the number one heel in WWE. But I'm gonna give it to Jordan Grace. Jordan deserves it. She's been the most dominating force this year. Anthony Florio, I believe this will be an agreement. I know you were very high on Jordan Grace. I got Jordan Grace as my female wrestler of the year.
As do I, MF. You're absolutely right. You mentioned a lot of worthy contenders, notable nominees in a way. You mentioned Liv Morgan. You could also make an argument for Nia Jax. I mean, you could have made an
Yeah.
argument for her. Could have made an argument for Bayley, even. Make an argument for that one. And but in all honesty, I mean, as great as they all were, I really wouldn't put Rhea on that list, MF. Last year, it was her year. I mean, no one dominated women's wrestling in 2023 more than Rhea Ripley did, and it wasn't even close. No one was on Rhea's level last year. This year, it was a little more open. We had a lot of worthy contenders, like I just mentioned. But in all honesty, it is Jordynne Grace. I mean, what an incredible year she had. I think she had like 15 or 16 successful knockout title defenses this year. I mean,
she did.
From when she took the title from Trinity, aka Naomi, at the Hard to Kill pay-per-view in January, and holding it all the way up until Bound for Glory, when she finally dropped the title to Masha Slamovich, and then Masha defeating her in the rematch at Turning Point. So yeah, Jordynne Grace, no question about it. And she's going to be one to watch in 2025. No question about that. After she puts Tessa Blanchard over at Genesis in a few weeks, she'll be on her way out the TNA door. She'll be ready to burst through that WWE door. And you thought she was great in TNA. Just imagine what Triple H and the crew, just imagine what they're going to have in store for her when she comes in. And I think she will come in, and I believe she will make her official WWE debut as part of the Women's Royal Rumble match on February the 1st. So 2024 Female Wrestler of the Year, the Juggernaut, Jordynne Grace. Michael Bullock, are we going to make it unanimous, or do you have somebody else in mind?
Yeah, I'm going to make it unanimous and go with Jordynne Grace as well. I mean, like you said, she dominated that division in TNA, and of course also had an impact in WWE, of course, making some appearances on NXT, and of course challenging Roxanne Perez for the women's title at Battleground, and even being part of an all-star women's tag team match. So yeah, there's no doubt about it. To me, Jordynne Grace is my female wrestler of the year, and Fletch, I think we got one left.
The male wrestler of the year, Anthony Florio. You lead off.
Unlike the women, this one's not even close. We know who it is. There's one other outside of this individual, but there's no question about it who the male wrestler of the year for 2024 is. It is the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. I mean, Cody Rhodes winning his second straight Royal Rumble match, becoming only the fourth man in history to do so, finishing the story at WrestleMania. And to this day, he is still the undisputed WWE champion, and he will carry that title into 2025 when he defends it against Kevin Owens in a return match, in that huge ladder match where his current title and the Winged Eagle belt will both hang above the ring at the Royal Rumble at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. They're going to tear the roof off of Lucas Oil Stadium, no doubt about that. So the only other one that I think you could, I mean, there were a few others, honestly. Outside of him, you could have easily made an argument for Gunther. I mean,
yes.
Gunther, a worthy candidate. Damian Priest, a worthy candidate. I mean, you could have made an argument for the Archer of Infamy. You could have made an argument for Nick Nemeth, the TNA heavyweight champion. I mean, could have made an argument maybe for Joe Hendry. You could have made an argument. Well, Joe Hendry.
Don't forget Moose.
Moose, yeah, you could have made an argument for Moose, absolutely. Joe Hendry was voted the TNA Wrestler of the Year, but that's another story.
Which was right. I agree with the Joe Hendry winning the TNA Wrestler of the Year. I agree with that call.
And Jordynne Grace was the Knockout of the Year, of course.
Which was right.
and I could address the TNA. I could address the we could address the TNA stuff outside of this, but for right now, as great as all those guys were in 2024, the male wrestler of the year for me, no question about it, it is the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. So, and he is the quarterback of the most profitable era of WWE right now. And before I give it to you, Bullock, and then we talked about this earlier. Bullock and I had a little private chat earlier this evening. MF, you're hearing this for the first time, and I know you're going to agree with both of us when I say this. And this is what came up with Bullock and I earlier. Cody Rhodes, without a doubt, is counting his blessings right now because of the crapshoot, the dumpster fire that so-called company that he helped start 5 years ago. I mean, there are other people who are counting their blessings, but nobody is counting their blessings more than Cody Rhodes. I mean, had he stayed there, he would have been lost in the shuffle, no doubt about it.
Especially when he said he could no longer challenge for the title.
Exactly. 5 years ago, yes. And look where he is now. If anybody would have told me that after he helped jumpstart that promotion 5+ years ago, if anybody were to tell me all these years later that he would not only go back to WWE, but would also become the face of the company, I would have said you're out of your mind.
Yeah.
But alas, he is the face of the company. He's the quarterback. So, and what an incredible job he has done. They gave him the ball, and boy howdy, he picked that thing up and he effing ran with it. So, and I couldn't be any happier. So, Male Wrestler of the Year 2024, the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. Michael Bullock, your thoughts?
Yeah, without a doubt, to me, Cody Rhodes is the male superstar of the year. I mean, like you said, there could have been some of those others, like you just mentioned, but Cody Rhodes took the ball and ran with it once he became the champion. So Cody Rhodes is my male superstar of the year. So Fletch, you have the final say.
Yeah, and it is a unanimous vote. It is Cody Rhodes. I just don't think there's really much. I don't think there's any other person. You can make an argument for Gunther. Definitely, he's definitely within the mix. You know, being the Intercontinental Champion, starting the year as the Intercontinental Champion, losing the title at WrestleMania, winning the King of the Ring that propelled him to become the World Heavyweight Champion, and he has not relinquished that title since winning the title at SummerSlam. And he's going into 2025 as the World Heavyweight Champion. So yeah, you could make an argument for him. But just through the ring psychology, the ring story, everything else, being the face of the company, without a doubt, it is Cody Rhodes. There is not really much argument on that one. And we are done for the night. So yeah. So tomorrow night is Ridiculously Raw, hosted by Anthony Florio, as this will be the last Monday Night Raw on the USA Network. As we are now, as the week after, they're going to be on Netflix from the Intuit Dome in Los Angeles, California, and they are promising us a hell of a show to send it off. Nothing more to say. That'll be at 10:30 as always. And then if Anthony has a Tony take, he'll cover that after that. But I doubt there will be. I think it's all recaps. So we just got Raw 10:30 on the Tone 25 for Anthony Florio, for Michael Bullock. I'm Michael Fletcher. Thanks so long, everybody, and we'll see you all tomorrow night.